Appreciate your company this afternoon. First, as calls intensify for answers to the circumstances surrounding the Adanse military helicopter crash, experts say investigations must go beyond possible mechanical faults. The tragedy occurred on August 6th when a military helicopter carrying the Defense and Environment Ministers and 6 others went down, killing all 8 on board. The government has set up a board of inquiry to investigate the incident. We'll hear from forensic pathologist Professor Sampade shortly. But first, Wing Commander retired Patrick Nelson Sobojo says the military cannot be faulted for arriving at the crash site 2 hours after the incident, as their priority was to secure the area and prevent residents from taking wreckage from the aircraft.
Oh, you are giving me a flight, you do your plan. And there are separation heights from every obstacle. If your plan is okay, you know your takeoff time and arrival time. This thing happened in Mayday, and we are saying that where it happened was a very heavy state area. You can't drop soldiers to go there. Are you going to drop a parachute that they hang on trees?
So if you have an insurgency in that forest, how are we going to do with the insurgency?
Ground forces are part of it. They should get there. And it took them almost 2 hours.
No, but I don't understand the point. Please explain. You say that we cannot send troops there because you say you cannot send troops there.
How do you send the troops there? How do you take them there?
No, that's what I'm asking a question.
How do you take them there?
Relax. If we had an insurgency in that forest, how would we act as a country?
You have to move soldiers from point A to point B.
Yes,
the soldiers are not scattered all over Ghana.
No. What I'm saying is that we can move soldiers there.
You are talking about this situation, and I'm telling you that it takes time, or took time for the ground, about 1.5 hours. They still hadn't gotten to the crash site. And for them to go there and indicate where the airplane landed.
Retired Festus Obuaji also revealed that, contrary to claims, the military failed to respond swiftly. 2 separate aircraft were deployed from Tamale and Accra to begin search and rescue operations after the crash.
ETD or ETA was 10:02, not 10:12. It should have taken the heli 15 minutes, all things being well, to have arrived at Obuasi. So when it went off radar, the air traffic controllers, both at Civil Aviation and the Air Force, were going by international practice, waiting for 30 minutes to lapse, and if they had not heard from the plane.
And the 30 minutes is important because I saw that in the manual that we've all been reading today.
Yes.
That governs.
And then
the
another 30 minutes, 1 hour. So by 11:12 thereabout, that was when the distress call was placed. And I have information that the Ghana Air Force called Central Command and asked them or told them that we're expecting this helicopter to have landed at Obuasi by so-and-so time. Do you have any wind of it? Can you, if you like, look for it? Now, what the GOC Central Command did was then to contact the 4BN Forward Operating Base at Obuasi, that this plane was scheduled to land at Longley Stadium. So if by that time they had not seen the plane, then they should go to the AGC Stadium to see perchance whether it had landed. In the course of time, the news started filtering out. Remember, we are talking of 1,100 hours plus. So the General Officer commanding, in addition to deploying the FOB to look for the plane in and around Obuasi, as a commanding officer of 4BN, to now deploy a search and rescue team. It's on record, the record that I have shows that the search and rescue team deployed by 4 Infantry Battalion got to the crash site by 1400 hours. Now remember that the eyewitnesses who saw the plane crash saw it much earlier.
Yeah.
Around 09:53, the plane had crashed. The locals who were in the forest had seen it. They had started moving to the crash site and had started taking away broken parts and so on, which are critical exhibits. So in this case, you cannot fault, let's say, the security services because of distance. Indeed, compared to Atiwa, which took 3 days to find the crash site.
Now, speaking on PM Express on Monday, forensic pathologist Professor Paul Opoku-Sampani stressed that investigations should not be limited to identifying technical faults.
From the discussion so far, it seems you are reducing the whole thing to technical fault and so on and so forth. But we haven't thought of the human part in terms of what could have been the state or the health state of the pilot, the co-pilot, and so on and so forth when the flight was in motion. Did we actually think of that? So if you reduce the argument or the discussion to black box and then the technical fault, we may end up losing the whole fact here. If I recall, my paper that I wrote, latent medical conditions of drivers involved in road traffic accidents, where some drivers may have some latent conditions like hypertension, diabetes, epilepsy, and so on and so forth, and be driving. And so some of these things get themselves involved in accidents and we think that it's probably the fault of the cars. It will not be so always. So that is one thing I just want us to draw the attention to. And that is where, when the accident or the disaster happened, how it was handled, where experts were not called. Probably the experts that were called were those who were involved in probably looking at how the plane was assembled or whatever, or how the disaster occurred. As a forensic pathologist, like you rightly said, if I had been or anybody had been at the accident scene or the disaster scene, even the way the victims were lying on the floor would speak a lot to us. And so that is very, very important when such disaster.
As we continue to remember the fallen eight, a JoyNews research analysis shows the Z9 helicopter was just about 12 kilometers from Obuasi when it went down. Our latest visualization also reviews clusters of Galamsey sites surrounding the crash location. Now, joining me in studio is our lead data and research analyst, Kofi Ajay, who would be helping us understand the exact coordinates. We'll get to the Galamsey sites shortly, but help us understand the coordinates properly. Well,
in fact, we have every coordinate, and since the accident happened, tomorrow will be exactly 1 week. We've been trying to understand what really happened. And so we've been gathering data from official sources as well as experts like Colonel Festus Abuaje, who have been speaking on the issue. And this is what we are using to do our visualization. So what we are doing basically is to bring life to what the experts are saying and what is behind the numbers. So let's start from the Air Force Base where the plane actually took off from. This is where the helicopter left on its way to Obuasi. So this is the Air Force Base in Accra, where the Z9 helicopter left to Obuasi. We understand that the estimated time for the entire journey was around 50 minutes. So when it left Accra around 9:12 a.m., it was expected to land somewhere at the Linkley Sports Stadium. And let me show you that this is where it was supposed to land at exactly or somewhere around 10 a.m. in Obuasi, or 10:02 a.m. in Obuasi at the Linkley Sports Stadium.
Minutes.
That's about, let's say, roughly, we don't really know the speed of the aircraft, so we can say between,
arrival time.
let's say, 55 to, let's say, 57 minutes that the aircraft was expected to land here. And we've been trying to understand that the entire journey was about 180 kilometers. And per our analysis that we've done, as at the time that the crash occurred, the pilot had done about 93% of the journey already. So he was just left about 7%. We've done the calculation, and at least he needed about 4 minutes to get to the Linkley Sports Stadium that you see here on the screen. This is where it was expected to land when it moved from the Air Force Base. Now, let me take you to the crash site for us to understand what really happened. So if you take a look at Sikaman, for instance, this is where Sikaman is. So you have Sikaman in this area where we've mapped in yellow for you to understand the distance even between Sikaman. And this is the exact spot where the crash happened. And when I show you the mountain and the mountain ridge and the range, you see why it was difficult and why that terrain is supposed to be investigated and possibly studied. That's why the crash actually occurred in that area. So let me take you to that crash point for you to understand what we are trying to put across. So this is the crash point. So let me give you a 3D of the crash point, and you see how steep the mountain is, right? So this is the entire area that we've been able to map for you. This is the area, the coordinate that we got. And so the entire space, if you use a certain radius, you get within this perimeter that we're expecting that maybe the plane would have crashed. So it was getting over this mountain, which per our calculation is about 1,000 feet tall, the highest point you can find on that stretch. Now, this 1,000 feet, let me bring it home. You know the football, pole, right? That's about 8 feet, right? So it means you need about 125. You pack the football pole on each other 125 times. That was the height of the point where the aircraft actually got, crashed. Let's do the 3D for you to understand. So you can see that this red line shows you the mountain. So anywhere you see that red line is indicating the mountain area. So this was an obstacle that the pilot had to maneuver over. If you look at it, you see that on that day, the terrain, the weather condition in that area is also a big, big factor. Just look at this cone, this aspect of the mountain, and you see the side is very, very steep. And even if you compare that to Sikaman, where the whole thing happened, there's a distance has been established. That's why it took them about 2 hours to move from here to the crash point. And then as you can see, the whole place is green, showing you that this is a forest zone, whether it's semi-deciduous or deciduous forest. This is a forest zone. We understand there are cocoa farms there and all of that. But it will take you about 2 hours to move from Sikaman to the crash point. So you can see the mountain here, and you see the crash point map in yellow for you to understand what really happened on that day.
I have a question. Between Sikaman and here, up the hill, if the helicopter needed to do by all means an emergency landing, do you envisage it being able to land in between Sikaman and here?
So the scenario is that if there was a problem and the pilot had to do an emergency landing, it possibly would have done it here, Sikaman. But the visualization we are getting shows you that it moved from Accra, was trying to get over this line. It means that it passed Sikaman before it got crashed. So the question is, did they have a technical problem after they passed Sikaman? Or was it because of the weather after they passed Sikaman and they couldn't get over the mountain? All of these are questions that people are asking. But if it was supposed to do any form of emergency landing, it was supposed to be it was supposed to be before they get to the mountain, either at Sikaman or somewhere around I think Bofuedu or Diapompo, or there's another town called I forgot the name of that town. But there were at least three safe areas that if he had to do any form of emergency landing, looking at the pictorial view we are giving you, it was supposed to be done before, because anything after this is taking you to Obuasi. So let's look at the line to the Linkley Sports Stadium. So you see here,
right? And
many have said that they were looking for two places where the aircraft could have landed, either the Linkley Sports Stadium or the AGC Park. Okay. This is another spot that it could have actually landed. And that distance we are saying is between 12 to 13 kilometers. That could have taken the pilot about, let's say, at least 4 minutes to get to Obuasi. Now, based on what Colonel Retired First Abajo said yesterday, we understand the Mi-17 was deployed when the issue happened. It was deployed from Tamale to Kumasi. And let's try and also visualize that for you. So once that happened, you see the MI in the yellow line moving from Tamale. Let's try and do a 3D analysis. The MI moves from Tamale, was stationed here to support the Boku conflict, moved to Kumasi to help with the search operation. And we understand the time they got there, the locals have already been able to assist the rescue team to find the place. Then there was another aircraft, a transport aircraft that moved from Greater Accra to Kumasi. That was a transport, aircraft that moved to also assist. And we understand it was the Casa 125 that brought the bodies to Accra. That also moved from Accra to also join in Kumasi. So we've been trying to actually understand what may have happened that day, and all the visualization we are showing you shows that the entire thing happened straight from here, the Air Force Base in the Greater Accra region, where in about 15 minutes time, they were expecting the plane to land somewhere at the AGC or the Linkley Sports Stadium. If you put this right, let's see where the Linkley Sports Stadium is. And that's where we were expecting it to land.
That's
and
a
unfortunately,
near safe arrival. Yeah?
Absolutely. If you look at it, that would have taken the aircraft about 50 minutes to land there. But unfortunately, it didn't land there. And that obstacle we've been focusing on is this crash point where the whole thing happened. And if you can see the visual, just look at it. Very, very steep mountain. I mean,
very cold.
You can see it here that the entire area, if you look at the terrain, that's a very tall mountain that the aircraft, we all don't know. The scenario is that maybe it was already over, it had a problem, fell, or it was flying low, crashed into it. Nobody knows. But these are questions that we're actually
looking for answers.
For answers too.
But, I mean, you have also been digging, and you've been discovering or uncovering some possible mining sites around the crash area, particularly.
Well, so there is a town called Akwesi Nkrumah Krom near the place, right? That's about the entire acre of land is more than 200 acres in terms of that town. And what we understand that we were able to spot more than 10 pockets of illegal mining activities. And if you look at a space of about 200 acres, all degraded as a result of illegal mining, you can actually find that side. If you compare it to where we see the Sikaman at the place, and you can see it. This is Sikaman itself, where we didn't find any galamsey spots anyway. But if you go to a place, this is the place that I'm trying to show you. If I can get that place, there are places that you see illegal mining activities all over, and we were able to count about at least 10.
The colored areas between the
exactly.
green areas,
so you see pockets of galamsey activities, and so it's unfortunate that this issue actually happened, and you've seen the crash point, and this so amazing. If you look at the unfortunate situation that happened at the crash point, and we've been trying to visualize the whole thing, and you can see the, very, very steep area. And this, according to the exact coordinate we got from our reporter, we've been able to map this area as the possible place that the plane may have actually crashed, trying to, right after it got over Sikaman. And you can see the distance between the two towns there. So this is what we have so far. We've been trying to understand, and when we get fresh data, we will update the map, and possibly that will give us some further and better particulars as to what happened under the MFR. Thank
you so much. This really brings it much more to home for us. Well, in a related development, a Volta River Aviation aircraft 9GAFW has made another forced landing in the Adansi Akrofom district, the same area where the military helicopter crashed 6 days ago, sparking fears among residents. The same helicopter was forced into an emergency landing in Ejimako in the central region on August 6th and in Koko in the eastern region yesterday.
Train be chair, na me fie na me no adwan. Ke twa mu na ko ye na esan tan ne na eba no. Ma hu hwi bi. Train wo for me say eh, hwe na wan san be to me dan zo. Na me ye de me hu say oba ya ti me chenzi train no ene me di machi. Na me ko ya mba ye na hu say won du from kwa no wasensen wi na before obelande. Na obelande ye no. Say be say ye ne committee for ba ha. And you by home by Pamo and say,
who they be able to tell you, Papa? Because I don't pay me, say, me commander, the film who's a play neighbor. Ah, a corner Satan and up, but I'm saying, no, they play the out then and was added than a ever. A radio who am mobile. I say, almost a plane and I saw 10, but who say, I say a buffum. I tell me a friend, what I say, Raddy. No, they better to come had a tour for me a jatomun, and I be almost a radio who am mobile. A radio who am mobile. It's with them the many show Hanaka Jania Tomurum. Naka Jania Jamemami. I feel we almost a plane in every Bessie so, and then they said Dimilica, and of course, I'll be a buyer, not just say, I bet you
no office. And I may say, yes, headquarters be by source landing our district. Na me two car me buy. Na me buy na ampa ma be hu omo. Me no ma di nkomo no omo kire se omo ko kira no mines. Na omo du ha no se ne ebo no aye no nti no na wo se omo ye by force landing wo ha. Ana ama omo abe lande wo ha. Nti na di ama wo ma lande wo ha no eno no. Ya bi aha omo se nya fort bia wo ma na lande. Na di ma me nso me buy tutu ne se na no di si ani si o me mpaswe so ekuru a ben ha ye so ho nti ani si ya na yenya information a abetodwa nhwehwemu ni nyamba me hu de nam so ma sa headquarter no e crash ya ijato mu na se ne social media bi di abetoto ho no o mo kire se amanfo na kote ewura mu ho no o mo te sa flight no nti se we nso abesi wo ha de a na wo se me behwe aida say
Watching news today. Well, all incidents have been attributed to weather conditions. The chief forecaster at the Ghana Meteorological Agency, Felicity Ahiafenyo, says that while the service continues to issue warnings against flying in such conditions, it has no authority to stop aircraft from taking off.
Now, when it comes to the flights, domestic flights, that's the helicopters and then craft. We provide them with area forecasts where we give them weather conditions on the various levels, and then we give them the general outlook. Then the pilot is left to make a decision. So before they take off, they know how the conditions will be, and then before they land, they know how the conditions will also be. So we have been in constant relationship with the aviation industry, and then also with the Air Force, Ghana Air Force Base too. We have been in contact. We provide them with forecasts every now and then. In terms of the meteorological information, the meter, every 30 minutes we provide it for them. So, but then if it comes to the other aircraft operating within Ghana, where we don't know anything about, then that one, there is nothing that we can do. We don't know where maybe they may be getting their information from. We are not obliged to give advice to the pilot to make a decision, but what I can say that the conditions have time. So in the mornings between the early hours to around 10, 11 may not be conducive for flight operations, especially for the domestic flight or the low-flying aircraft. And then also in the evening, in the night, from around 5 moving onwards to may not also be advisable.
Well, Minister of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation, Samuel Nete George, says he contemplated shutting down internet access following last Wednesday's helicopter crash that claimed 8 lives, including 2 ministers.
Generally, I would say that it's been a mixed bag for me. And let me say a very big thank you to the telecom companies, MTN, Telecel, and Airtel Tigo or AT Ghana. When the incident happened, I mean, I was distraught, but we still had a responsibility to the state. I got a call with the videos that started circulating. The unfortunate situation is most of them were circulating on WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is a platform that is not controlled by any country. It's a private business. I was faced as Minister for Communications with 2 options. One was to shut down the internet in the country. to prevent further spread of the videos. Because don't forget that at that time, you had not had government officially complete communications with the families. Government had not made a formal communication. You had some of the kids who are old enough being online. I was worried about the mental health of those kids and the spouses, and such tragedy needs to be broken in a certain way. And I thought that the insensitivity, and so that was one option, to shut down, make a public announcement and say we're turning off the internet for a period.
Now, the National Communication Authority has suspended the operations of some radio stations, and my colleague Elton Brobe joins me via Zoom with the details in that statement. Elton, what does the statement say?
So this is just coming in. The statement says that the NCA has suspended the operations of 9 radio stations for various infractions, and this follows the expiration of the 30-day grace period granted by the President, John Dramani Mahama, for defaulting stations to remedy the violation of the laws and regulations governing the FM radio broadcasting in Ghana. And they say that 6 radio stations refused and neglected to comply with the regulatory amnesty by taking no action at all. And for that reason, these radio stations, Jam Plus Multimedia Limited, operating on 105.9 at home in the Water region, license cancelled. There's also Dreams Ghana Media Limited on 104.9 at New Epim in the Eastern region. There's Jam Multimedia Limited 101.3 at Kintampo in the Bono East region. There's Dual Group Limited 102.7 Joy and Kwanta in the Afro region. There's Pandai Star Community Radio 107.3 at Pandai, and there's Unique Gateway Communications Limited at Nkoko in the Eastern region. Now, the statement doesn't end there. There's some action taken on radio stations owned by the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the MPP, Bernard Nfibu-Osiakon, also known as Chairman Wontumi. And the statement says that many of the violating stations took steps to remedy breaches during the amnesty period. 3 radio stations, however, failed to remedy some of the breaches, including unauthorized use of studio to transmitter link frequencies and unapproved transmitter stations. Consequently, the operations of the following stations have been suspended for operating without certificate of compliance in violation of Regulations 54 of the Electronic Communication Regulation 2011. And they are Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited, 95.9, located here in Accra. There's also Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited, 101.3 in the Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi. And there's also Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited, also 101.3 at Takoradi in the Western region, all belonging to the Ashanti Regional of the MPP.
Interesting, Elton. 30 days indeed comes quite quickly. But thank you for bringing us update in that statement. And away from that, the NDC has rejected the NPP's explanation for pulling out of the Tamale Central by-election, describing it as a calculated political move rather than a gesture of respect. The NPP, in a statement signed by its General Secretary, says the decision follows last week's tragic helicopter crash that claimed the lives of 2 cabinet ministers and 6 others, insisting the withdrawal is in line with the period of national mourning. But the NDC disagrees. Rashid Tanko Computer, Deputy Director of IT and Elections, says the explanation does not hold that of the party's posture. And the party's posture is inconsistent with its own political conduct.
We are in the morning mood. I mean, the NPP is inviting us to it. A realm that we will decline the invitation in the sense that we are mourning. Why would they want to bring out this? In any case, they know it's a political game they are playing. I mean, you cannot overturn 52,000 votes that you have 16,000. They have 16,000 in Tamale Central. We had 52,000. Even twice of their number will not get to our number. So it's a political calculation they made. It's not that they are mourning anybody or they want to say because of the funeral that they are doing. In any case, Akotia by-election, they have no pull out. We lost our honorable member there too. Why are they not pulling out their one too and say in honor of the MP? I mean, the hypocrisy of these our brothers, we know. They are trying to invite us to a realm that we will not fall into that trap. We are mourning our beloved fallen heroes. On the 15th, come Friday, the national funeral will be held. And after that, we can now do full-fledged discussion as to the way forward for these 2 constituencies. But they shouldn't be in a hurry. They should relax. I mean, they should join us to continue the mourning for now. I do know that this is not the first time political parties pulling out from contest. We have pulled out in a Jisu by-election. We pulled out in an election in 2016 that brought in Honorable Brian Champo, his first contest. It was a by-election. We pulled out. We didn't contest in that one. Here was West Wogon. The NDC pulled out again midway. So, I mean, this is not the first time for political parties to decide not to contest.
Well, the NPP's national organizer sees things differently. Here's Henry Nanabuachi, the party's national youth organizer, justifying the decision.
In our decision is that we do not intend to contest Tamale Central seat.
How is this different from the by-elections the NPP has contested in when the certain MPs had lost their lives?
Oh, yes. You see, that is why we are saying that the circumstances surrounding and how it has thrown the entire nation into a state of mourning. Right. So, yes, there have been instances where we've contested or we've gone into a by-election on the back of a sitting MP passing on. We've done so. But that is why in that statement we captured it. We said that, look, we've considered this, and again, it's not going to be the first time. There have been precedents. That is why I give you almost about 3 instances where 2 of them, the NDC decided not to contest. On one other occasion, they said they will contest. Look, this is not the time. We are all mourning. We are in a state of shock. This was a tragic, a devastating moment for us, so we do not intend to take part.
But how effective will this approach be? Dr. Kwame Asante is a political scientist at the University of Ghana and explains the implications and modalities of by-election. The NDC, thank you for joining us this afternoon, Doug. Now, the NDC described MPP's decision as a calculated political move from a political strategy perspective. How would you describe this?
Straight away, parties don't go into election just for the fun of it. I have already said, and I'll repeat it here, that you need to consider your resources, your strategy, your message. If you have resources and you weigh it against the fact that you are going to lose, do you go and throw that good money away? What strategy are they going to employ to be able to win the seat, which they've lost with the gap was so wide? What has gone on in that constituency to the effect that the people will now want to accept you? No. And then the last one, what message are you going to give them that will resonate with them, and then they will vote for you? They've done all these calculations and they tell you that they are not contesting. Yes, you can't blame them, but they've known from their research and from all the analysis that they are likely to lose the election.
Right, but it's short-term and long-term implication for both parties?
For NDC, they were holding the seat, so they will begin to building a more support base and to strengthen the base of the party in that constituency. For NPP, it is not the end of the road. When we come to main elections, they will be able to also compete and compete well. Remember, when that place was not, there used to be, I think, Sabu Gida or so, and then NPP man had it. Yes, Mustafa Idris was there. So they are also a force to reckon with in that area. Remember, you are talking about dominant 2 political parties in Ghana. So everywhere they have their tentacles, and if they want to contest, they can contest effectively. But now they're looking on the ground. I'm sure it is clear to them that they will lose. So obviously, there's no point going to contest.
Well, does withdrawing from a by-election under such circumstances really strengthen or weaken a party's outlook? Will it change the outlook at all?
It doesn't add anything to it. The best is this, that you are saving your resources, but it doesn't mean that the MPP base in the place is dwindling. It's not. It's not.
Right. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Now, away from that, President John Mahama has announced the creation of a dedicated fund to cater for the children of the 8 Ghanaians who died in the August 6th helicopter crash. Addressing mourners at the funeral rites of the late Deputy National Security Coordinator, Alhaji Mohammed Muniru Limuna, the president stressed the need to protect the primary dependents of the victims, including 2-month-old baby of the pilot, Peter Bafemi Anala, from the hardships caused by their loss. He revealed that the fund will be formally launched during the state funeral of the 8th, set for Friday, August 15. Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbaba joins us with more. Maxwell, what more has the president been saying?
Well, MFA, the president said Alhaji Muniru was almost like his personal assistant. He says he could call him at 1 a.m. and tell him to go to Yendi or Damongo if he will not refuse to go on that errand. He says he will not get a replacement for him. And he said because he was very close to him, he was part of the last batch of appointments he made. And so some persons thought that the appointments had delayed, and there were questions why he had not been appointed. And the president said, when you are serving food, you serve strangers first. So that was the plan, for him. He says his appointment, Alhaji Lumina Muniru's appointment, came just 2 weeks ago, and this was supposed to be his first public assignment. He was supposed to have gone by road. They're told that he was not a person who liked travel by air. The president said, but the information got to him late, and so he was told there was a helicopter available and there was space for him, and that would be his final journey. The president has also been talking about their contribution to the research agenda. He said all of the 5 government appointees were key champions of the research agenda his government is pursuing. He says the research agenda must succeed in their memory. And he has also been talking about how they all died in their prime, and that the state must support, the children of the 8 victims who died in the incident.
Well, finally, I know that we're just 2 days shy away from the state funeral set for 15th. That's just Friday. How's the presidency getting ready for that?
Well, preparations are underway. Yesterday, the presidency put out a communication that for media people who want accreditation for that event, the deadline for the accreditation process was on Wednesday at 12 p.m. So yes, preparations, are advanced with consultations going on with family and the rest on the state burial that will be taking place. In fact, the president mentioned that he will be providing the full details of this dedicated fund that has been created for the children and family of the 8 persons at the state burial that will be happening on Friday at 8 a.m.
Thank you so much, Maxwell, for bringing us an update about that fund that the president hopes to launch on 15th of August. You're watching News Today. Please stay for business.
Welcome back to Business here on JoyNews Today. My name is Winston Taki, and out to our first business story. The Universal Merchant Bank, Fidelity and GCB offer the lowest interest rate on short to long-term loans for businesses. That's according to the latest Bank of Ghana data on the real cost of loans in the country. There is more in this report.
Businesses that wanted a loan over a year and turned to Universal Merchant Bank paid an average interest of 29.43%. That was the lowest and the best in the industry compared to other banks that were given loans that should be paid in a year. For a facility reaching up to 3 years, it was Fidelity Bank that offered the lowest rate of 21.14% compared to its peers in that space. For a facility that will be paid back in 5 years, GCB Bank came up as the best bank for businesses to turn as they paid 25.60 interest. This was after the bank added all the other charges, including insurance, commitment, and facility fee. But it is important to note that These are all facilities secured with the banks before June this year. This could mean that there is the likelihood you could be paying less or more for a new loan being processed this month. The annualized percentage rates, according to the Bank of Ghana, reflects the true cost of a loan when borrowers have to go through the approval process before getting the facility. The Bank of Ghana has argued that regular publication of this data will go a long way to help reduce the cost of lending in the country.
In other development, the Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation has announced plans to establish a national data action hub to drive Ghana's digital economy. Sector Minister Sam George said the hub will facilitate data sharing between government and private institutions. He noted that this will help build a robust database to develop AI models tailored to Ghana's needs.
Intelligence is not a future ambition, it's a present-day mandate. From agriculture to education, health to transport, justice to finance, defense to homeland security, every ministry, department and agency must become AI ready. This is not about replacing human judgment. It's about augmenting our institutions with intelligence, efficiency and predictive insight. It's about unlocking new value for citizens, streamlining public services and positioning the government itself as a driver of innovation. Our message was simple: no MDA must be left behind. This agenda belongs to all of us. We will also develop the policies and provide the technical support from my ministry to help build the talent pipelines to ensure that AI becomes a core capability of the Ghanaian state. To match this, we are also working on establishing a national data exchange hub, a secure interoperable backbone that will allow public and private entities to share data transparently, safely, seamlessly, and efficiently. Data is the new oil. Data, however, unlike crude, must be refined through trust, policy, and precision. And Ghana will lead on this front. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why we are undertaking a comprehensive review of all existing legislation in the ICT sector, not as a bureaucratic exercise, but as a strategic imperative. And I'm pleased to announce that at this moment, the ministry is currently undertaking 15 new legislation to lay.
We have more business update for you at 1 p.m. on the Marketplace. Up next is sports.